Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am Vitold and let me tell you about some pros and cons of this new KTM 890 Adventure that I've ridden. So in this video you will see what I value the most in this bike after having ridden all of its competitors, and also what I feel is below the expectations, along with even a possible deal breaker here. Keep in mind that on one hand I've got a pretty full perspective of the segment, but on the other you may simply have different preferences. Some like blondes, some like brunettes, and some like them all, if I'm even allowed to say that, which we will find out about soon enough. In other words, try the bike yourselves to know exactly what it feels like to you specifically, and don't just take my word for it. I'm of course having very strong opinions, but again, I like it quick, I like it comfortable, while there are people in the world that love their uncomfortable Ferrari or they love riding horses. I wouldn't stand that, for example. Anyway, use my observations as an indication of what to pay attention to when testing these motorcycles yourselves. Let's first start with awesome stuff, and after I warm you up a little bit, we will move to the shameful part. So the first awesome pro of KTM 890 Adventure without the R is its engine and performance, along with flexibility, along with instant power delivery at all RPM, and this effortlessness that just blows my mind. This is a fabulous engine, which I consider to be an absolute masterpiece. It is a great thing to deal with if you care about performance. Well, its accessibility, and above all, how easy it all feels. I really enjoy dealing with this engine myself every single time. The second great thing about KTM 890 Adventure is a pretty comfortable position, along with the handlebar width and also its position, the seat comfort and overall posture that you keep on this bike, except for foot pegs position, which is too high for me, by the way. It's a bike that you likely won't have to get off of every hour just to rest. Then the third advantage of it is that visually and height-wise, it feels very manageable and very light to deal with. It's not always the case, even if the weight itself is pretty low. Here, this KTM appears quite approachable, and I consider that a plus. It is also not too tall, and it can even be lowered. Now, on top of that, the seat itself is height adjustable by 2 centimeters. The fourth nice thing is that it handles very well at all speeds, but especially those lower speeds. It also maintains stability no matter what you're doing with it, so braking or accelerating when in a lean, the bike stays always composed and under control. It is also nimble to turn left and right and quick to react in all of that. It is a big compliment. There are even more encouraging bikes here, but this one is very, very good already in this area. In the fifth point, there is this feeling of having plenty of capabilities, as if you could do anything you'd like to do with this motorcycle. It's a general combination of how the engine feels, of handling, and how nice of a position on a bike you can have. All these things ignite this feeling, but it's so obvious that, and so significant here, that I feel that this deserves to be mentioned in a separate spot here. It may even make you feel like you would like to try riding off the road, which is, well, interesting. I guess that until you get there and the terrain becomes a bit more challenging, as then with over 100 horsepower and 200 kilograms of weight, it may all be suddenly lost, all those manageable feelings. But the feeling of being able to do it all is there. Then, as a sixth pro, there is the stock windscreen that will do great in cold weather and medium speeds, as it protects the rider very successfully from the wind stream and prevents any turbulences from appearing there. It's not adjustable, which is a pity, and also on hot days in the city or simply riding slower, it may turn out to block more wind stream than you would like. Now let's move to the seventh spot and give you a big one, which is that the value for money may turn out to be quite decent, considering that performance-wise, it feels like it's right there with the largest and the more powerful big adventure motorcycles. It handles better than some of those, but it costs you less, mostly, usually. Sounds like a good deal, especially performance-wise, if that's what matters to you. And it may be, but let's go through one more pro and then mention some of the flaws. That's going to be interesting too. The eighth pro is KTM's heritage, its cool orange color, and the feeling of riding something more rare or even unique. The brand is not mainstream, but it's quite recognizable, and I think it may work well for the 890 Adventure. This way, we've reached the part where I'm presenting to you the less colorful side of the 890 Adventure. Make yourself feel good now, go grab a tea or a coffee, sit in a comfortable chair, for example, like my electrically adjustable 7G11 office chair, chill, and let's move to the first one, which is that the 890 Adventure, despite all the love for it, generates so much heat from its engine that's getting trapped and transferred to your lower legs and your whole body that it can become quite terrifying, terrible, and very unpleasant, especially in the summer and especially in the city. And in some whatever places where you don't ride very fast, so that it's not possible to get all that heat away quickly enough, and with skipping your legs on the way and then your whole body. Now, it's a big issue that may be that deal breaker. It's the only one, in my opinion, in terms of deal breakers, and that also says a lot about the severity of it, so how serious this thing can be. It also depends on where you ride, so make sure that you can live with it and that it won't bother you, or there won't be that many opportunities for it to bother you. Now, the second con is that rather hard and harsh suspension that's only manually adjustable, while some competitors from Ducati and Triumph can have it at least partially in the Triumph and fully in Ducati electronically adjustable. It's not very comfortable, this suspension here, but it's still manageable if you like the bike because of its some other advantages, but definitely it's not a comfort king here. Then the third downside is a possibility of a few of the first gears being a bit too short for what the bike is capable of. I wish they were slightly longer so that we would be able to go for longer without changing gears. It's not a big thing, but rather an observation that might in fact be countered, maybe fixed with a sprocket replacement. It's as simple as that, if you actually are or would be bothered by that. In the fourth place, there are those gear and rear brake levers that are mounted fairly high, so they may in turn not be the most comfortable for people who are like me, so 1 meter 83 centimeters tall or 6 feet tall or above that, or just people with long or not very flexible legs, feet especially. The fifth con is the lack of some of the equipment options that can be found in some competitors from the more premium brand, I mean generally not more than KTM, but from the premium brands, let's say, and that would be keyless ignition, that would be electronically adjustable suspension and a height adjustable windscreen. But let's move to the sixth, as it may be depending more on your specific situation, and it's the fear of a breakdown, malfunction, and KTM dealers not being able to handle the repair process or even getting the parts. I believe that this depends on if you want to work with an authorized dealer and how severe the malfunction would be, if there's any, but it can be a downside if you're unlucky. This is a side effect of being a less popular brand. And then as the last con, I have listed average looks, with that a bit of a weird face and large wheels which enhance a feeling of slightly maybe silly proportions. It is a very subjective one based on people's taste, on my taste in this case, but well, it applies to me, so I'm sharing it with you guys to decide if you like the way it looks or not, and if it even matters to you anyway. So yeah, this is it. I hope that you were able to swallow the second part, but to me it's all valid, so I hope you found it useful as well. If you want to hear more in detail, check my full review of this KTM that is linked in the description, and subscribe for next breakdowns like this one. See you there.